Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about books that I'm unsure if I'm going to like them or not. So it's not like I'm on the fence because I'm going to read them. Like some of them I own, some of them I don't own, but there's like this part of me that's like, I'm not sure if these books are going to be for me. I want to give them a try, I want to see if they're for me, because they could be, but I'm a bit on the fence. I'm a bit like, I don't know if you're going to be the book for me. And you know, sometimes you get books and you like look at them and you're like, you're going to be a 5-star book. Like I can just tell because you give me 5-star vibes, or you give me like vibes that I'm going to really love you. And then if it's not, then you're really disappointed. But these ones, maybe that I'll be really surprised if I really like them. There's different reasons for this. Like I'm not sure if these books are going to be for me or not, but I'm going to give them a try. So we'll start off with the ones that I own, and I'll go through the reasons for them, and then we'll talk about the few that I don't own. So the first one is quite a chunky one, and that is The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. So the reason that this is on my I'm not sure list is because I wasn't a massive fan of Assassin's Apprentice. I read it quite a few years ago now, and for me it was just bleh. It took me ages to get through. I just didn't connect to it. I just did not connect to it. But I feel as though the premise of Ship of Magic I'm much more interested in. I've heard it's multiple POVs, so you're not just stuck in Fitz's head. And I think as a whole, this one interests me more, but I'm just nervous because of my feelings on the Assassin's Apprentice, her other work, and whether I'm going to gel with the writing style. I mean, everyone says that she has such beautiful prose and the characters, and I'm like, and I guess Assassin's Apprentice was her first book, so potentially it was just like, you know, some TV issues. I believe it's her first book anyway, but again, it's very chunky as well, and it's quite a chunky book to try for an author I'm not sure of, but everyone has said that this is amazing, so hopefully it's a 5-star, but I'm a bit nervous about it. Sticking with the epic fantasy, I am also a bit nervous to read The Lies of Locke, Lamora by Scott Lynch. I started this back in March of 2020, and I've taken the bookmark out now, but I got to like page 60 odd, 50, 60 pages, and I just wasn't in the mood. But now I question whether that was like my permanent mood or if that was just the mood of the time. So at the time I was like, it's just a mood of the time, but now I'm like, was it a permanent mood? Like, did I just not gel with this? But I feel as though I should give it more than 60 pages. In any case, I'm also a bit nervous to read this because the whole series isn't out yet. So, and there's been quite a delay, I believe, from the 3rd book to the 4th book, which still isn't out. It does sound interesting to me. Like, it does sound like it's something that I'm going to like, but I just don't know. Moving on to, I have a little like sci-fi stack, so away from the epic fantasy to the sci-fi, and I feel as though with fantasy I'm much more accustomed to it. I'm not too scared to pick up like big fantasy books, big fantasy series so much. Like, I don't necessarily have that fear because I've done it before. I've read big fantasy books, so I'm not too scared of them generally, but I am a bit more scared of sci-fi as a genre as a whole, just because I don't necessarily know all of the jargon, I don't know what's going on, and it's just not something that I'm quite used to. I've tried branching out a lot more this year into reading sci-fi, but I'm still a little bit like, it's not my comfort zone. Fantasy is comfortable for me, it's my comfort zone, but I don't quite have that with sci-fi yet. So sci-fi books that I'm a bit nervous about, I mean, there's lots of sci-fi, I own more sci-fi books than these and I'm fine with them. These ones just intimidate me. The first one being June by Frank Herbert. And it's not like necessarily this one intimidates me, I just don't know if it's going to be for me or not. I'd like to give it a try, and it definitely in the next couple of months with the film coming out, I want to try and read it before that and then see the film, pretty much like everyone else. But I just don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't know why. Do you ever look at a book, and the thing is, I say to myself, TBR, the books that you own, you should think they're all going to be 5 stars. Like, they should all be 5-star predictions, because otherwise why are you reading them? Why are you reading a book if you don't think it's going to be 5 stars? So I've told myself this, and then I've looked through, and actually I've got books where I'm like, am I going to like this or not? This is a risky pick, and I just don't know if this is going to be for me. I just don't know. I feel like it's like a toss of the coin. Like, I could love it, I could hate it. I just don't know. We will see how I feel about Dune, but at the moment I'm like, I don't know. Other sci-fi that I'm a bit on the fence about is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. And the thing, okay, this one, I think it's because I've heard how dense and complicated the language is. I think that will just depend on my frame of mind when I'm reading it, because I know my friend Sam, he DNF'd this book because he didn't get along with the writing style, he found it too dense. But then I've watched like Peruse Project, who has said that she was racing through it and completely addicted to it and found it so compelling to read. So part of me is just wondering where I'm going to fall with this. And I think Jessie May has said as well that the writing is a bit complicated, but once you get into it, you get into it. So I'm just intrigued with where this is going to fall as well, and whether I'm going to like it or not. And then the final sci-fi book that I have here that I'm unsure if I'm going to like or not is The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. I don't actually know that much about this. I think my concern is, Emily Fox has read these and she said that they were really good, but they had, was it sexism in here, or that there were some themes in here that she didn't get along with. That a lot of the books she really liked, and so I wonder how I'm going to deal with those themes coming up. Again, sci-fi, so a bit nervous about it being sci-fi and my like lack of sci-fi knowledge potentially affecting my enjoyment of the series. But once again, I own it, so we will see if I will like this or not. And then a couple of other ones. These ones I'm not so intimidated by because they're not very long. I don't think they take me very long, but I just don't know if I'm going to love them. And the first one being Mexican Gothic by Silvia Marina Garcia. So I have read Gods of Jade and Shadow by her, and I liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Like, there was something that stopped me from absolutely loving it, but I really liked it. That one, in terms of its plot and its themes, shouted out to me a lot more than this one. This one, I just don't know, because I've heard about there being mushrooms in it as part of like the Gothic horror side of it. I just don't really read that much like horror really, or like anything horror, because I'm a scaredy cat and I'm like, I might get scared. So I don't think, like this one, I can't think of being hard to read or anything. I can't see myself having trouble reading it. I just don't know if it's going to be a favourite. And then the final one that I own that I'm a bit like, is it going to be for me? And this is just because I've owned it for so long and I've like never heard anyone talking about it. I don't really know like where I got it from, or like what anyone else's thoughts are on this book, if it's good or not. And that is The Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. I believe this is an Alexander the Great retelling, so Russian inspired. I believe Eleanor Herman was a historian, so she has put that into the fantasy world. But aside from that, so aside from it like being fantasy with real history, know that much else about it. It has lots of authors that have supposedly read this book and recommend it based on like the author tags on the front and the back. But I don't really know, aside from that it being Alexander the Great, that much about this, or whether I'm going to like it or not. And I've owned this for years and I haven't read it. And that's where I'm like, am I ever going to read it because I've owned it for so long? And then there are just a couple of books that I don't own. There are a few where I don't think these books are going to be for me, which is why I don't own them and I haven't planned to own them. And so I'm a bit just, the majority of my head is that I don't think these books are going to be for you, just don't do it. And then there's this other part of me that's like, maybe you should just give them a little try, just like give them a taste. And I'm like, And I mean, those are like the epic fantasy ones that I haven't read, being Malazan, The Wheel of Time and The Witcher. All 3 of them all rolled up into a package of, I don't know if I'm ever going to read these books, but there's still a tiny part of me that's like, why don't you give them a little try? And then I remember and I'm like, but do I actually want to give them a little try? And the things, I think there's like, the things that start you like prompting you to go, do I want to read these books? Is like The Witcher has the TV show coming out, and I'm like, oh, a TV show. Yes, I love TV shows. I love watching fantasy TV shows based on books, but I obviously want to read the book first. And now I'm like, well, what do I do with it? Do I start reading Wheel of Time? And then I'm like, but it's 14 books, Scifi. Do you actually want to start reading Wheel of Time? So let me know if you could persuade me if to read any of these books. Which ones should I be prioritising out of my pile of I'm nervous or not bought yet, and yeah, just try and persuade me either way. Persuade me to either like unhaul these books because you say to me, Abby, these books are not going to be for you, you are not going to enjoy them, or Abby, you should be reading these books, you should be reading them right now, these are the best books ever, and we'll go from there. Let me know if there are any books that you were a bit on the fence about. If you're a bit nervous to try them out, you're a bit like, I don't know where I'm going to fall with these books, let me know, because yes, I'm very interested in that, and I can see if I can persuade you to read those books if I've read them and really like them, to read them. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!